Hello, welcome to another Fountain video. I'm delighted today to be joined by Jamie Smith, digital marketing extraordinaire, actually digital marketing consultant at Fountain Partnership. I'm really delighted to get Jamie to do a video with us today because he's going to talk us through the 7 Ps of marketing. Jamie, why should people care about the 7 Ps of marketing, first of all?
I think they're just a really good reminder about the real basics that we can all use and all look at and adapt in various different ways. And I think the main way that I wanted to talk about it is how I use them to kind of mold the copy that I want to put out there, mainly on sort of paid social, because obviously it's a longer form than paid search. But I think they're just useful tips because I think we've all been there. We've all been in that position where we've got to write some more ad copy and we just get stuck in a rut. And just having a little checklist to go back to. I mean, we'll all do bits and pieces of this anyway, but it's just kind of good to kind of say, right, if I'm going to do some testing, these are some of the things that I can look at. I can make a real focus on this particular bit of it, and then we can work from there and test, see what works, and then develop everything from there.
I think you're really right there, Jamie. And the whole reason why I wanted you to do this video is sometimes it's really nice to just go back to the basics and remember like the
Yeah,
key component parts that you're probably missing actually a few key pillars actually when creating your ad copy. And when you reminded me of the 7 Ps, I went, oh, actually, that's a really good point. And I bet you people don't think about that. So without further ado, Jamie, can you please talk our audience through exactly what the 7 Ps of marketing are?
okay, yeah, sure. So you've got the traditional four, which are product, place, price, and promotion. And then there's three additional ones, which were kind of, I think they were meant more for services and things like that. But I think they're still relevant, especially in today's world where everything's digital, everyone's got a website and everyone's selling. So the additional three are the physical evidence, process, and people. So I think in terms of product, it's a very basic one. We're all selling something, whether it's a product or a service. But why is your product a thing? What's it there for? Is it there to, is it there to bring people joy? Is it there to solve a problem? That's a great sort of fundamental basis to focus on, because then that tells you who you might want to target, how you want to talk to them, and you can just run from there really. Then I think with place, probably lesser in terms of importance, but if you are a local business and you're restricted, you really want to talk about that, because I think, especially at the moment, whilst we're all in lockdown and stuff, everyone wants to sort of help out locally. So it's good to build on that. But also, if you are a massive thing in the UK, you can talk about that, because that gives trust to people. So you can use it in the different guises. And also, if you're a large business throughout the UK, but you've got local depots or offices, stores, whatever, you can highlight that and make sure that it's on people's radar, so that they know, okay, this is something that is kind of attainable to me. I can go into the city
Yeah.
centre and visit these people. Price, again, probably definitely one of the fundamentals. I think there's a good case for saying that you can use it as a kind of Marmite thing, or a bit more of a kind of test, because you don't need people taking your clicks and spending your budget if they can't afford it. Obviously, we'd all like a Ferrari, but we might just have a click out of interest just to see what it's like, marvel at it, and wonder when we can get that sort of thing. But if you can't afford it, we may as well put people off right at the start, because it's going to save our budget. And it gives people a good reason to go through and think, right, well, I can afford this. What else about this sort of thing is it that I might want a little bit more of?
Jamie, that I just want to come in quickly there, actually, mate,
Yeah,
on price. That's something that people don't think about. And I think that's a really good point. Everyone is thinking about obviously driving people to the website, but they also probably don't think about actually the disqualification and how important
yeah.
that is, not just in terms of budget, but how much time you can actually save your internal resource as well. So I think that's a really good point, mate. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. I think it is true, and I think it's one of the fundamentals. And with anything in life, as soon as the talk actually gets to money, everything becomes a little bit more realistic. You can have like big ideas, but it's whether or not you can afford it at the end of the day. So Yeah, I think that's a good point to cover as well. Um, then with promotion, again, it's one of the fundamentals. Obviously, you don't have to run it, but we've just had Black Friday. Everyone knows that that's going to kind of go, okay, well, there's the chance of a bargain here. Everyone loves a bargain, and I think that it's the way that you do your promotions as well. You can be creative with them and do things slightly differently, or you can use those as a bit of a lead in. You know, offer some people a bit of an introductory um, discount, but it's a fundamental thing, and like you said with the price point, it might be something that people don't necessarily think about doing. Just actually making sure that people know that you've got this discount and they're going to save some money.
Yeah.
So, moving into the others, I think process is a really, really important one for anything that is primarily digital or whatever you're selling through digital. I think there's lots of statistics out there about, you know, people will add things to their cart, but they want to know whether or not you've got free postage or anything like that, whether there are any sort of things that you don't kind of include on the sales page. But also with process, especially if you're a sort of software as a service company, the process is really key. You know, if you've got a really quick onboarding process, you know, no one wants to spend time faffing around with things that are going to complicate their lives more than, you know, that particular product is going to solve. So pointing out that you've got a really easy onboarding process, that may be the reason that someone has been or has not gone for one of your competitors. You know, it might be that, you know, oh, I just found this far too complicated to get through. But, you know, if you've got an onboarding team that makes it really easy for you, you know that someone's going to be with you every step of the way, it's another weight off the buyer's mind, and it can really sort of push things. But I think it's, you know, from my point of view, if there's something that, you know, if there's a software that integrates with a lot of things that I do, then I'm going to be interested. I want to know about that because again, it saves on time, and also if you've got a specific way of doing your process and there's a reason for doing your process, like saving time, or you've found out that it brings people more success, then again, it's a brilliant thing to highlight. So yeah, I think it really heavily sort of revolves around time, but I think that's one of the sort of undervalued things really that people might miss.
Brilliant.
I think with physical evidence, again, sort of if you're a digital company or even if you are a software as a service company, this one's a little bit less. It might seem a little less obvious off the bat, but I think you can adapt physical evidence as what it is that people feel is tangible about your product. So it's the kind of the customer service, which, you know, again goes with the people side of things, but also how everything feels to them. So even if it's not actually there in front of them, it feels tangible to them. So, but going back to sort of product side of things, if there's real quality in your product, you really want to highlight that. You can get awesome product shots to kind of highlight that. And again, you're not necessarily going to sort of badmouth your competitors, but you can heavily infer that yours is better than everyone else's. So I think that's thinking about that one in particular can help you think about sort of different ways you can talk about it. And then I think with people, you know, everyone's got some review software nowadays, and a lot of the time when you look in the comments, you'll see that people are praising the people that they've dealt with as much as the product or service, whatever they've used. And it's a bit of an old cliche, but people do buy people in a bad way. But, you know, you know, people come to Fountain because they know that we can do a good job, and that's partly through the people that we hire. So I think that one does kind of get a little bit underused as well. Also, it's good to kind of, people can work well with emotion and things like that. You know, if you've got a strong team, even if you're a smaller business, the fact that you've got a really strong, loyal team, that can emphasize things like quality to people. And again, another reason why people will want to buy. I think, you know, often the About Us pages are one of the most visited pages on websites because people want to know who they're buying from. They, you know, it might be all great in terms of what your offering is, but do you believe in the people? because we can all write great copy that sings and dances, but is it actually, is it backed up by the people that you've got and the experience that they've got? So yeah, I think that's just a sort of a little run through on how I'd kind of use those to think about things.
No, it's brilliant, Jamie. Really, really useful. Just to come back to you on a couple of points there, actually, towards the end. One thing that I think people forget, and I want your opinion, I'm going to put you on the spot here. We've not scripted this.
Right.
I think people forget about the emotional side of marketing. They think about all of the logical stuff, the hard skill stuff, the discounts, the location and stuff. But I think when you talk about people there, that has got to be more prevalent in people's marketing strategies going into 2021 for me, because the whole reason why, for example, you love your local business is that you get to know the people behind it, and you want to know the story, and you want to know how they work and how they look after people. So that's a brilliant point, mate. And do you think that that's something that people should start to think more about in 2021?
Yeah, I think you can. I think the thing with all of these, the parts of the 7Ps and what we talked about, it is sort of mostly kind of logical, but it does feed into emotion as well, because if you can fall in love with a product from how it looks or what it does for you. If something's going to save you time, that's going to get going to elicit a good response from you emotionally. Again, with price, like if you've been looking for something for a while and this thing just happens to be the right price, or it might even be slightly cheaper than you'd seen previously, but that, people absolutely love it when they get a bargain. Like that's one of the reasons that, you see people going out shopping on Saturdays, and it's more of a thing that they do rather than, oh, I'm just going to buy some stuff, I think it's important to test your messaging, all of this. We could recommend the top things that we think would work for anyone. But having said that, everyone knows their business really well, and you're going to know your business best. And if you know what things work here, it's about how you sort of gently craft or weave the emotion in, because it is more of an art rather than a science. Although those things, when you have the data with you, becomes more of a science, because you can see the touch points and what works over time and things. But there's so much stuff that you can test. But yeah, it really does sort of, I think it intertwines well, building the emotion through some of these things, like you said, with the people. That's a big thing. And even the place, like you said, with the local businesses, people like to have sort of pride in their local area most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's all. It's all intertwined well, and I think it is something that people need to think about going forward. And again, you'll hear it from everyone. Just test. You've got to keep testing.
No, Jamie, honestly, it's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you're a very busy bee, so thank you very much. So basically, if you're watching this right now, if you're creating ad copy, those are some ideas. There's a potential structure that you can use to help you. And of course, if you've got any other questions, feel free to hit us on our website or contact myself or Jamie, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. If you're watching on LinkedIn, leave a comment below. Same with YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, give us a tweet. We are at Fountain Team. Jamie, thank you very much for your time.